Dynasties don't end because the superstar got worse. That's the fan-friendly explanation. It's also the lazy one. A dynasty ends when the invisible machine behind the star breaks. And because fans don't watch spreadsheets, medical reports, or front office ego trips, the star becomes the scapegoat. So today we're doing this like a cold case investigation. Not who missed the shot, not who left in free agency. We're hunting the real causes, the repeatable patterns that quietly kill every great run. Think of these as dynasty killers, archetypes, and once you recognize them, you'll never watch an NBA era the same way again. Dynasty killer number 1, the power war. This is the one nobody admits because it's embarrassing when your team is winning, but the people upstairs start fighting over credit. You're not building a dynasty anymore. You're building a documentary. The power war doesn't care how good your star is. It turns winning into a side quest and control into the main mission. The roster becomes a negotiation. The coach becomes disposable. The locker room feels it. And suddenly the dynasty isn't ending. It's being dismantled. Dynasty killer number 2, the cap squeeze. This archetype is brutal because it looks like normal team building until you realize the math is a guillotine. Fans say, just keep the core together. Sure, with what money? A dynasty is usually held together by underpaid value, veterans chasing rings, role players on bargains, young guys outperforming rookie deals. The moment those contracts expire, you don't lose one player. You lose the entire ecosystem. And here's the cruel part. The star's numbers can stay elite while the dynasty dies anyway, because what died wasn't the star. What died was the margin. So if you ever hear, they lost because the superstar didn't have enough help, congratulations. You just discovered the cap squeeze in disguise. Now let's go deeper, because the next killers are even sneakier. Dynasty killer number 3, depth rot. This archetype is quiet. That's why it works. A dynasty doesn't fall apart when it loses a co-star. It falls apart when it loses the guys you don't know until May. The second big who survives foul trouble. The wing who guards the best scorer so your star doesn't burn out. The bench shooter who hits one back-breaking 3 a game. Depth rot happens when those players age, leave, or get replaced by cheaper versions. And fans barely notice because the starting lineup still looks terrifying on paper. But playoffs aren't about paper. They're about possessions. And depth rot is death by 1,000 tiny possessions. Dynasty killer number 4, the health debt. This one is simple and cruel. You can borrow greatness, but you will repay it with interest. Every deep run costs the body. It's not just injuries, it's micro-wear, recovery time, and the fact that your best guys are playing the most brutal minutes possible. Eventually, the body sends a bill, and the bill always arrives at the worst time. Late series, late quarters, late careers. Fans call it bad luck. Front offices call it risk management. But the reality is harsher. Health is a resource, and dynasties spend it like cash. By the way, if you want daily basketball stories explained with zero fluff, subscribe. I'm posting a lot here. Anyway, Dynasty Killer number 5, the meta shift. This archetype flips the whole league on you. A dynasty is usually built on an advantage the rest of the NBA hasn't fully solved yet. A scheme, a spacing concept, a defensive trick, a matchup nightmare. But the NBA is a copycat lab. Give it enough time and everyone steals your answers, then invents new questions. So the dynasty doesn't end because the star got worse. It ends because the league got smarter. And when people say, they just couldn't win the same way anymore, that's not a vibe. That's the meta shift putting your blueprint in a museum. Dynasty Killer number 6, the second option Mirage. This one destroys fan brains because it looks like star drama. but it's really structure. A lot of dynasties depend on a second scorer who can carry offense when the superstar gets trapped. When that second option is real, you feel unstoppable. When it's a mirage, you only find out in the playoffs, when defenses turn your co-star into a question mark. And then everyone screams, "The star didn't get it done." No, the star got triple teamed. The mirage got exposed. Dynasty Killer number 7, the owner timer. This archetype is underrated because fans pretend owners are just rich background characters. They're not. They're the final boss. An owner's patience is a clock. Some owners will pay for greatness until the sun burns out. Others see one bad season and start asking, "Are we sure this is worth it?" The moment cost matters more than banners. The dynasty is on life support, because dynasties require overpaying for the unsexy stuff. Depth, development, continuity, staff. Cut that and the machine starts coughing. And notice how this works. Fans blame the star because the star is visible. The star didn't choose the luxury tax. The star didn't choose the budget cuts. The star just got handed a weaker machine and told to make it look the same. That's the real pattern across eras. Dynasties don't die in one headline moment. They die in a sequence of small, reasonable decisions that all point in the same direction. Less margin, less depth, less time, less trust. Now, let's land the plane, and I'll give you the cheat code to predict the next collapse before ESPN even notices. Here's the honest takeaway. If you want to know when a dynasty is ending, stop staring at the superstar's box score like it's a fortune teller. Watch the archetypes. Power war, when credit fights start. Cap squeeze, when the ecosystem can't be paid. Death, rot, when playoff guys disappear. Health debt, when the bill arrives. Meta shift, when the league solves your advantage. Second option Mirage, when the backup plan is fake. Owner timer, when patience expires. This is why the star left is usually the final scene, not the cause of death. Stars don't kill dynasties. Dynasties lose their oxygen, and the star is the first to feel it. And that gives normal fans a real advantage. You can predict the fall early, before the ring chasing, before the panic trades, before the excuses. Because the warning signs aren't dramatic. They're boring. They're accounting. They're minutes. They're roster spots. Now, for the uncomfortable question. If that's what ends dynasties, what actually creates them? Because there's a repeatable recipe the greatest front offices use. One legal roster advantage, one development pipeline trick, and one psychological edge that keeps a team hungry even after winning. Most fans miss it because it doesn't show up on highlights, but once you see it, you'll never call a title luck again. That's the next video. Subscribe, because the teams that look randomly great are usually cheating the game, legally.